Welcome back. This is Connor from Two Homers and a Realist podcast, and it is finally here. The long anticipated, the long awaited OU Texas week. And if you're not saying beat Texas this week, I don't really want to be around you. In all seriousness, it's been a long 2 weeks of waiting. We got a great weekend of college football last weekend with some crazy upsets, some amazing games, something that's kind of setting the landscape of college football and what I really see as a lot of parity in the sport right now. But nonetheless, we're here. We are 2 days away from OU Texas. By this time, 48 hours from now, we will either be drinking in our tears and in our sorrows, or we'll be drinking to enjoy ourselves and celebrate. Hopefully we are on the winning side of it on Saturday, but I could not be more excited. Just this rivalry in general. You add the fact that it's both teams' first season in the SEC, where it truly does feel like it means a lot more this year. A lot to prove on both sides. Texas is quote unquote back. OU feels like they're kind of fighting an uphill battle with the offensive struggles they've had. So Texas wanted to come in and prove a point and show that they are the team that everyone thinks they are, and OU wanted to come in and show them that they're different, and show them that we are making progress and moving forward and finding a rhythm with this offense. So you add in the venue, you add in the state fair, you add in the 50-50 split, the close proximity to everyone. I think it's going to be an exciting Saturday. So a couple just game notes. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for the 2:30 kickoff. First time we've kicked off at 2:30 since 2017, I believe. We all remember that one. Crazy game, Baker to Mark Andrews down the sideline to win it. So hopefully we can draw some parallels there after this game. And then also from a temperature perspective, and I'm only saying this because I'm going to be at the game, and I'm not looking forward to the predicted 94-degree temperature at kickoff, which would be a record, again, beating the 2017 heat of 92 degrees at kick. So don't hydrate overly. I mean, there's water and beer, right? So I think that you can kind of balance it out a little bit. So in all seriousness, it's going to be an amazing weekend. Hopefully we can come out on top, prove a lot of people wrong, prove most of the people wrong, I think. There's not a lot of confidence out there outside of the OU fan base as a whole, maybe not even as a whole, a portion of the OU fan base who thinks we can get it done. We'll see if who from the podcast group falls into that group later when we get into some score predictions. But we'll talk about a few things again tonight, just getting ready for the game. We'll give you some more locks of the week. And then, like I said, we'll give you the score predictions and some closing thoughts before we head to Dallas tomorrow. So Texas comes into this game as the number one team in the country, and rightfully so, probably. I mean, I think there's a case to be made for Ohio State, but I think just with the win against Michigan, the way that Texas has been blowing teams out, the way that they've not been allowing points, probably warrants the number one ranking. That said, the opponents they've played have not been anything spectacular, between Colorado State and a Michigan team that, yes, coming off a national championship is a much lesser version of what they were last year. You've got UTSA, Louisiana Monroe, and then the mighty Mississippi State Bulldogs led by our old friend Jeff Levy. So, yes, scoring a lot of points, putting up a lot of yards. We'll get to some stats in a minute. I guess it's deserved. Interestingly enough, this is the first time we've had a number one ranked team in this game since 2008. So you've had to wait a good 16 years for that to happen again. It was us last time and we got beat. So hopefully we can return the favor this time around with Texas being on the losing end of it. I don't know. I think you can put all the stats together. You can look at the score lines, look at the box scores, look at OU's lack of production on the offensive side of the ball. None of it matters when that ball is kicked off on 2:30 Central on Saturday afternoon, especially in this game. You can say that about any game that we go play, that your team goes and plays. Oh, it's not over until it's over. It's not over until it's over in this game. We've seen so many teams that should have won, whether it be Texas or OU, that have that have lost in a crazy way. Or we've seen so many teams that were underdogs that have come out and been on the winning side of it. So that's what is so enticing about this game, especially not only as a fan, but if I'm a national fan of football and I'm just a neutral fan wanting to watch a good game, how could you not love this one? Anything could happen. I think the last 10 meetings, I think I'm trying to remember. The amount of close games, the number of single-digit margins of victory by either team or one-possession games going into the last few minutes of the fourth quarter lately feels like it's been almost every season outside of the massive blowout in 2022. So just when you think you have it in the bag, the other team can come back and surprise you and figure out a way to get back in the game. So I'm hoping we keep it close. I'm hoping it's exciting. I hope for a blowout from us, but I don't see that happening. But we'll see. Like I said, it's all kind of goes out the window. It's up for grabs once that ball is kicked off. So as I mentioned, let's just kind of get into some of the stats. So Texas, again, amazing numbers. They're ranked these are total offense and total defense stats. So we're going yards per game. I know it's not the best stat always to use, but for this purpose, I think it's going to serve it well. So offensively, they are ranked 7th in the country in total offense, and they are ranked 3rd in the country in total defense. Again, statistically great, but look at the opponents. Their best offensive ranked opponent in terms of total offense is UTSA, ranked 65th. Their best opponent defensively is Michigan, ranked 48th. If you average their opponents all together out for total offense and defense, you get a rank for offense of 107th. And defensively 85th. So I would expect big numbers from them, right? And I do feel like it is necessary to bring up. I mean, Texas fans are riding high. Texas fans are confident. I'd be confident too if I was scoring as many points as what they are and not giving up as many as what they are. But let's kind of pump the brakes. I know Texas is all gas, no brakes, but I'm asking you, pump the brakes a little bit. You haven't played anybody. I'm just going to say it. You haven't played anybody. So let's look at OU real quick. So OU, an abysmal 121st offensively. It's really bad, guys. And we all know, I mean, between the lack of run game, between the offensive line not coming together, between the wide receivers being hurt, it's just been a culmination of disasters on the offensive side of the football, which hopefully bodes well to the 2-week break that we got. Find some of that consistency, some of that rhythm that we've been lacking. Again, I'll use the cohesiveness that we need to be a consistent, sustained offense come Saturday. So again, 121st offensively. Defensively, we're ranked 42nd. Defense has been on the field a lot because of all the issues on the offense that I just mentioned. So middle of the road, I guess. I expect to be better by the end of the season. But let's look at the opponents. Tennessee, the best opponent we played in both categories. 5th ranked Tennessee offensively in total offense. In total defense, they're ranked 2nd. If you average out OU's opponents, they're averaging ranked 64th in total offense and 34th in total defense. So large margins relative to what Texas has faced versus what OU has faced. Like I said, 107th offense facing offenses for Texas, 85th for defense, and then OU 64th and 34th respectively. So I'm not saying that's all, it tells the whole story. OU has been bad. I do think on Saturday, though, the best unit on the field is going to be the OU defense. I think the second best unit is probably the Texas offense. It's just, the matchup is interesting to me. I think you can really kind of compare it to what we looked at against Tennessee. And frankly, I was a little bit more nervous about the Tennessee, at least the Tennessee offense, than what I am about the Texas offense. I do think Texas has some guys. I think Quinn Ewers is going to be good, but there's a chance for some rust there as well. The guy hasn't thrown a football in a competitive game in 4 weeks, and whether he's quote unquote fully healthy or not, it's still you're coming back in the biggest game of the season up to this point, and you're going to be expected to play against a really, really good defense, the best defense that you've seen all season. So I'm just all of this kind of leading into the point of there is a chance here. This isn't going to be I've seen some crazy, outrageous score predictions. I saw like 42-14 and just huge gaps, huge wide gaps in terms of what people think the score is going to be in Texas's favor. And I think it's really short-sighted. I think if we go out and we lose 42-14, there needs to be some very critical questions asked as to what's going on and where's the program at and where are we going to go from here. Similar to what OSU is doing right now. And it's not the end all of everything if that actually is the scoreline. I mean, we came back from the depths of losing 49-0 2 years ago, and things can be fixed. But with where this team is at and where it was expected to be this season, if you go out and you lay an egg and you get blown out, there does need to be questions asked. And I for the record, I don't think that's going to happen. Anyways, let's look at the injury report real quick. Some good news, some not so good news, and kind of just some of the stuff that we expected. Obviously, the stuff we expected, the wide receivers being out. The one name to really mention here is Deion Burks, was listed as doubtful. Sounds like he's actually a confirmed out for the game. So everyone who is hoping that he'd be back, myself included, let's put that to rest and let's move on. I will say there is a silver lining to that, and it's something that I talk about on the pod and I've been talking about with my friends, is the reps that Michael Hawkins has been getting over the last couple weeks in preparation for this game have been guys that are not Deion Burks. So if Burks was going to randomly start playing or come in and play with only a couple practices under his belt with Michael, then I'm not sure that is the best thing for what this offense needs to do on Saturday. You want the guys, you want the Pettaways, you want the Hesters, the Thompsons, the guys who are going to be getting the share of the reps on Saturday now that Burks has been confirmed as an out. You want them to have been practicing all of these 2 weeks. And it sounds like that's the case. I'm being optimistic. I'm hoping that bodes well for what we're going to be trying to do and what we've tried to build over the last couple weeks between Seth Luttrell and Bill Bedenbaugh, the entire offensive staff, and what the game plan is going into this game. Again, no big offensive linemen being out. It sounds like we have the guys out there that we thought were going to be the starters at the beginning of the year. So hopefully this is the moment that Bill Bedenbaugh has circled on his calendar to say, all right, guys, I've done my 4 to 5 game, mess around, plug and play type of stuff. And again, I know there were injuries, but this is the week that I decide to pull it all together and the week that we start looking like a serviceable Division I offensive line. If that happens, the whole game changes. You get a freshman quarterback protection that he needs. You open up the run game that we haven't had. So fingers crossed there. And that leads me into my last point with Taylor Tatum not even being on the injury report, which is a huge plus. I think he's one of the most versatile players on the field when he's out there. I think Jay said it best last night. He's extremely versatile in the passing game. Obviously needs to work on some of his blocking. However, the ball in his hands, I think I would expect him to make a play more consistently and more dramatically than I think any of the other guys that have been out there. So that's a good sign. We'll see how much run he gets with Sawchuk and Barnes, presumably in front of him still, especially with him being out a couple weeks. But that said, it's good to have him back. Couple of thoughts before we get into the fun stuff. Michael Hawkins, let's just kind of again talk through what he's going through. True freshman quarterback, getting his second start in one of the biggest venues, one of the biggest atmospheres that does exist in college football. I will say that I'm excited to see how he handles it. I'm not really nervous to see how he handles it. He seems like a guy with a level of poise that you don't see at this age and at this level most of the time. So hopefully he can prove me right in that aspect. I do think that poise is going to have to carry over into his play as well. It's one thing to have the mentality. It's another thing to go and execute. And I think if he can sit and if Luttrell has done a good job of implementing a game plan around him the last couple weeks, if he can have a stick-to-it attitude and stick to that game plan, hopefully one that can win a game, I think we'll be fine. I am glad that he got a start on the road in a hostile environment like Auburn, as opposed to his first start being in Norman. I think being on the road is going to be helpful. I think you're basically going on the road this week, especially when you're in that Texas half of the stadium trying to make calls and make adjustments. So it's going to take everything he's got to win this game, and I trust him to do it. So we'll see how it shakes out. Defensively, really excited to see them play again. Like I said, I don't think Texas has seen a defense like this. I think when we have played well in this game and had the results that we want in this game, we've had defensive performances that are worth noting. And I think being aggressive and being in the backfield is going to be a big part of that. And on top of that, continue the turnover battle wins. We're ranked extremely high in the country. I haven't looked at the numbers this week after the bye week, but we were ranked first in the country last week before the games last Saturday in turnovers. So keep that up. And then on the other side of it, if you're Michael Hawkins, take care of the ball. That's going to be really important. I don't know, guys. I'm excited. There's so many thoughts in my head about this game and what I expect and what I anticipate and what I'm worried about. I could go on, but let's get into the fun stuff. Let's get into this week's Locks of the Week.
The realest deal, Locks of the Week.
So we'll start in reverse order this week. We'll go with listener locks first. We've got Colin, a coworker of mine, who has sent in some picks. His first pick, he's got Vanderbilt getting 13.5 against Kentucky. So he's riding the Commodores pretty high after their win against Bama last week. That's probably going to be a pretty low-scoring game. Kentucky's offense is awful. I think they have an amazing defense. I don't think Vandy's going to put up the points that they put up against Alabama. So I'm expecting a pretty low-scoring game there. I would take the under. He's got Cal getting 3.5 against Pittsburgh. Interesting pick. I may or may not have the other side of that pick once we get to me. Cal just came off a heartbreaking loss to Miami that the refs, in fairness, basically handed to the Hurricanes. But you're coming off that loss. You're flying across the country to Pittsburgh, where Pitt is a pretty good team. So we'll see how it works out. But he's got the Bears in that one. And then he has Missouri giving 27.5 against UMass. I like the pick. I at times forget that UMass even has a football program. We'll go with me next. I've got Penn State giving 4.5 against USC. Don't trust the Trojans at this point. I'm not saying I trust James Franklin and the Nittany Lions either, but I do think they are 4.5 points better. Also wouldn't be shocked if USC came out and won that game either. But I've got Penn State there. Like I said, I have the other side of what Colin had. I have Pitt giving 3 against Cal for all the reasons I just mentioned. And then I'm jumping on the Boise State train. I've got Boise State giving 21 against Hawaii. We'll go with the leader, Jay, next. He's got BYU giving 3.5 against Arizona. BYU has a good thing going there, it looks like. So I like that pick. He's got Bama bouncing back, giving 21 against South Carolina. I am interested in this one, honestly. South Carolina has been a team that they're so on and off that I don't know what to expect. We'll see how Bama responds after one of the most devastating losses in the last 10 years to any team. So we'll see. So he's got Bama giving 21 there. And then lastly, he has Ohio State giving 3 against Oregon. I like the pick. I think you might see Oregon get a little bit exposed this week. So we'll see what transpires there. I think game day is there actually as well. So big matchup in Eugene. We have Lucas next. He's got Rutgers giving 2.5 against Wisconsin. He also has BYU giving 3.5 against Arizona. And then he has Minnesota giving 5 against UCLA. UCLA is a dumpster fire right now. I like the Minnesota pick. That's a good one. Lastly, we'll go with Steve. Steve's got some common picks here as well. He's got Penn State giving 4.5 against USC. Ohio State giving 3 against Oregon. And then lastly, it would not be appropriate to not have an OU pick on OU Texas week. So he's got the Sooners covering the 14.5. He's got OU getting 14.5 against the Longhorns of Texas on Saturday. And I can't say that I just don't absolutely love the pick because I do. And it's not just because I'm a homer. Maybe it is a little bit, but I do think this team can more than maybe not easily, but is more than capable of covering the 14.5. That is the line right now, and we'll see. It would not shock me if that line moved up a full point by the time we get to Saturday in Texas's favor. So a lot of money going against OU this week. A lot of picks going against OU this week. I am not in that group. With that said, let's get the scores. We'll start with me. I've got the Sooners winning 31-30 in a just classic game. Late fourth quarter win. Maybe not a game-winning field goal, but a game-winning field goal in the maybe not a last-second field goal, but a game-winning field goal in the fourth quarter by OU. Jay has the Sooners losing. Silly Jay, 20-27. Lucas with the same exact score as Jay. It's almost like they talked about this before they made their predictions. And then Steve is in the good guy corner. He's got OU winning 31-27. So a pretty common grouping of scores there. Two of us are the smart picks, the other two are not. And I do think Steve and I will be celebrating. Not that Jay and Lucas won't, but it'll be we were right, you were wrong type of moment. We can close it out tonight. I'm trying to manifest some good luck here with my AD jersey. It's OU Texas, and if you're not doing horns down, you're not doing it right. So beat Texas. Hopefully we're back here with a post game and a fifth quarter recap with huge positive vibes, where this team is headed, what we could accomplish with this big win. But we'll have to see. Until next time, Boomer, Sooner.